All righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the program. So we've talked about doing the what do you want, why do you want it, and we've talked about doing the observation and bringing those fears into the burning meditation. And now we're going to start to talk a little bit about dreaming itself. And the first stage of being able to lucid dream is actually remembering the dreams that you do have. Right? Some
Yes.
people vividly
Do you
remember.
have some personal experience with this, Dustin, of disappointment, maybe a little disappointment of,
Okay, yes, I will share my story. All right, so Brian claims that he came and got me one night, from wherever I was, and took me to have this shared lucid dream. And apparently, I was fully lucid, like I was like you said, I was conscious, interacting like I normally do when I'm physically, wherever, right, in person,
yep.
and 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 I have absolutely no recollection of it.
Which is like an ultimate fail.
It's horrible. It's so depressing. It's like that's so cool that you did that we were hanging
I
out
didn't
and I
do
was
anything. You did
well.
it,
Oh, what do you mean? I did it.
Well, you were there, so it's like I engaged, and it's like, all right, and so I thought, wow, great, we turned a corner, this is awesome, it's good. It's like, nah, got back, nada, just don't remember any of it.
I don't remember
So
any of it. So I guess some people could think like, well, maybe Brian's full of crap and or whatever,
yeah.
right? From that. So
Yeah, well, you have to have your own experience, right? And go from that. I mean, don't believe anything I say. Engage the process and prove it to yourself. So
right.
that's the thing, right? I mean, I tell that to people, to students all the time, right? Don't believe me. It's like make your own experience. I'm just trying to help you cut the learning curve down a bit.
Right.
So,
And I mean, that seems strange though, it almost seems to me like lucidity, like lucid dreaming almost implies like having your full waking consciousness is like, if you have that online, like why wouldn't you remember your lucid dreaming experience if you have your full waking consciousness? I mean,
right.
what do you think's going on there? I mean, how does that?
I mean, as much as, people dream all night long, really, they go in and out of REM sleep and dreams constantly, right? It's like the people that say they can't remember their dreams, or they don't dream. No, they don't remember their dreams. And so, because we know, again, physiologically, I mean, you can't survive without dreaming. I mean,
Right.
literally, people die. There's a couple of, or one condition, or some kind of weird, something that's, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's very strange. It's very rare, but there's something that goes on, a condition where people, lose the ability to dream. And when they do, they die not long after that. I mean, it's like there's some other process that's going on there that we have no idea how it's engaging us on a regular basis. So people, if you're alive, you're dreaming. Okay. So it's just that if you don't think you're dreaming, then you're not remembering your dreams. And we'll get to that too, because there are ways to fix that, right? It's like what you put your attention on will, come about, right? You just need to know how to focus it and tweak it a little bit, and we
And
can
if
bring it back online. Yeah.
somebody else has had, lucid dreams as well that they don't remember, I mean, oftentimes I think people have lucid dreams as children, right? And
Oh, sure.
maybe that just fades over time, or maybe we're having them on a semi-regular basis, but there's some kind of, do you think that there's something happening with the conscious mind that kind of is,
I mean, it could be that, but I think sometimes too, it's just, when we don't keep our attention on something, it fades, right, and goes away. And we distract ourselves with other things, and there's plenty of distractions in this world, obviously, and things that take a higher priority survival wise, take priority, the lion's share of energy too. So your attention goes there. And so there's very little left over for, these flights of fancy or whatever you want to call them, right? So um, again, there are plenty of us that have, we've forgotten. Our memories are not, unless they're trained really well for, over long periods of time, they're not infallible things, right? It's like for most people, I mean, imagine, just try to remember even great things in your life. I mean, you've probably had many great things in your life, but if you tried to list them, it'd be like, would you get them all, or have some of them faded to obscurity? And I think that that's the case with any of this stuff. So if you're having lucid dreams as a child, and after a while it just becomes, other things take precedent, right? And then all of a sudden, they're just gone. No matter how fantastical they were when you were a kid, if you haven't given them any attention, they're going to fade away. So, and it's the same thing with this. If you're one of these people that doesn't remember their dreams regularly, and just feel like once in a blue moon you remember your dreams or something like that, then it's an easy thing to forget about, right? Because not many people, even people who remember their dreams, they're not really utilizing them, in a way that's conscious. It's like, oh, I could use this to problem solve, or I could do this or that with it. So, what's the big deal? I mean, people don't record their dreams, right? Because they just feel like it's something that's sort of comes along with sleep as a byproduct. And so they don't really have any import at all. I mean, people say that stuff all the time, right? Oh, it's just a dream. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, it's just it's like, oh, you're just dreaming. It's like we discount it. And so all of those little slights, even though they're just, figures of speech, I mean, those get in, and they start, you start accepting them as belief, right? Like there's, don't be such a dreamer. It's like as a slam, right? And so, and that's the thing. So, I mean, these things will get in, and that could be somebody's fear too, right? That, we've gone through that. That could be one of those unconscious things that we just don't realize that, oh, I don't want to be ostracized. I don't want to be shunned from my family and friends. If they think, or if they find out that I'm putting all these attentions and trying to lucid dream, they're going to be, they're going to be all over me, or they're going to be ridiculing me, or whatever. So it's just another avenue that comes up, right? So yeah, but there's a way to enhance it as well, because if there's a way to dissipate it, then the opposite would usually enhance that. So I put more attention on it, right? So I start, recording my dreams, a dream journal, which everybody's heard about. You can make it as elaborate. I wouldn't. I mean, I haven't, because I hate it. But it's at the same time, but it's so important, I can't not do it. So, all of my journals look like lab books, right? Day, time, date, whatever, what's supposed to be happening here, what I'm doing for process, what was the result, right? And just the facts, ma'am, nothing but the facts. And so no frivolous embellishment, unless I think it's important, and then I'll make a note of that at the bottom. You would see in my dream journal that there are very few that are like elaborate, elongated, novels, because who has the time to do that, first of all? And if you're going to get a different one every night, you're looking for those symbolic references that are going to give you some input, right?
What do you mean by that? Give you some input, like?
Well, like, I don't go to bed without having a question on my mind,
Right.
that I can let even just my regular dreams sort of, and my subconscious answer that. It becomes this rapport that you get with your subconscious. Like, you have a problem at work, or with a person at work, or relationship, whatever, it's like you ask a very pointed question. It's a real art to be able to ask good questions, right? We practice that for a long time, and we're constantly refining it, right? No loopholes in there, no obscurity, right? No nebulous questions that any answer can, will give you something. So you want to nail it down, right? So I'll go to bed with a question like, um, what's the most efficient way for me to solve this problem at work, or something like that. And then I know, like, any dream that I have, I'm looking at it from a symbolic place, that's giving me an answer to that question. I don't go, oh my God, I had a dream about my mom. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that's good. What does that represent to you, and how does it apply to the problem, the question that was asked? Don't let that go. It's like everything's referenced in accordance to the question. So it's giving you an answer. Is it giving you an answer that you can understand? If the subconscious talks in symbols, what do these things represent to you, and how is that answering the question that you posed to it before you went to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
So that type of thing. So I put more attention on my dreams. They become part of, a bigger part of my existence, and so because the subconscious starts to see that it's getting more play, right, more airtime, it's like, oh, maybe we should communicate a little bit better. Maybe we should, I should, throw a few things out there to him, and see if he picks up on that. And if not, and you don't really, it doesn't make sense, then it'll try again until you start to get this rapport, right? And this is how we, beyond the lucid dreaming thing, it's like how we initiate, just a better relationship with our subconscious. Remember, your subconscious is, if the amount of, I don't know, it's like one of those weird physics things. I don't know how they would even, know this, but basically they say, if the area that your feet, if you were standing up and your feet were together, the area that, your feet covered would be your conscious mind, and your subconscious would be 5 square miles around you. So, the amount of time that we spend and utilize that, it's a resource that's far underutilized, right? So we want to try to establish some rapport with that, and start utilizing it. You put more attention on it, it's going to be a much easier transition getting in there and doing more with it. It's not going to be a stranger in a strange land anymore, right? It's going to be somebody who knows themselves, knows their proclivities, and then is entering, a space of their own making. So it's not going to be as confusing. It'll still be surprising, but not confusing, right?
Right.
So,
And the symbolic language that the subconscious uses, you've often said that, if you're going to use like a dream symbol book
interpretation book
or
or
something
whatever,
like
right?
that, to just use one, right? I mean, that's an important thing, but also that the nature of these symbols is very personal.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's much better to come up with your own. I mean, if you want to start with that, if you have no idea where to start, you can start with one of the more classic books. I would probably do that, and just see what their general references are. Like, I mean, they can vary widely from book to book and author to author. That's why I don't. A lot of these things are very idiosyncratic. But you could take some things. Like, let's say the most popular author of that type, right? And if you use his, well, he's the most popular because he's sold the most books, right? So that means there's, hopefully tens of thousands, if not more, people that have read this book and are sort of using that interpretation guide. So that means more and more minds that are sort of, clumping that together, right? It's sort of like, you know, a group of religious people that are all praying to the same God, or all praying to a saint, or whatever it is, right? There's that mass of energy that's moving in that direction, and there's a feedback loop there. And so the same thing happens with dream interpretation, and the symbols that are in those dreams or what they represent, right? So, but there's other ways to do it, and I think that as time goes on, you'll stay with the basic ones, but then you'll have a better you'll establish your own language, basically, what the symbols mean to you, what different things mean to you. Like, what does the ocean mean to you if you just have a spontaneous dream that's not lucid, and it's responding to a question. Some books will say that that is the unconscious or the subconscious itself, that ocean. Some people will say it's sexuality. Some people will say it's, the unknown, and it goes on and on and on, right? So it's like, which one are you going to choose? Which one feels right to you? And, if you're going to do one, though, the last thing you want to do is, make your language gobbledygook by trying to, interpret it in all these different ways, right? It's like once you start building a dictionary of these symbols for yourself, um, then you want to stick with it, because then the subconscious will say, oh, it's about your sexuality. Well, we're going to show you a picture of a Caribbean ocean or whatever it is, so it'll start to communicate with you on that symbolic level. It always is, but now it'll be more refined because you're getting the answers and you're acting on those answers. So that becomes, this communication, conversation basically.
Mm.
So,
And I
yeah.
believe I heard actually Jordan Peterson talking about this one time. He was saying that the classic method for discovering what a symbol means or what a dream means is to go through, I think it's like, think about the place and then the people and then like the important objects that were there. And every time you come up with a new like place or thing or person, you're asking yourself like, what does that remind me of? Or what is that associated with? Or what does that make me think of? Or, that simple sort of process. And I've found that to be like really an effective way to, it's like, as soon as you ask yourself the question, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, it's like those things can arise so fast and into your mind,
Right.
because it's already,
Right.
because it's almost like it's already there, right? It's your subconscious talking to your conscious self. So
Right.
why wouldn't
Right.
you know what that thing means?
Right.
Why does
Exactly.
it's not, we don't shouldn't expect that it should be like this deep mystery like that we need to uncover. It's like it's trying to communicate clearly with you. It's doing it in its way with its language, right?
Right. Right. Exactly. And trying to see if in giving that to you, you respond in a way that's different than what you've done before. So it's like if you had it was that information that I gave you enough to solve that problem for you. So now you can put it out of your mind, right? You clear space, and then so here's the next thing, and so it becomes this rapport. It's really it's a very interesting process, even more so in the lucid state. But really, I mean, even from a regular dream, it's not a bad idea on the nights when you're off and you're not attempting a lucid dream. It doesn't mean you can't pop into one spontaneously, but if you just go into a regular dream, then it doesn't mean that it's null and void, right? That there's no juice there for you. No, it's like, and the more emphasis you put on that and the more you sort of look into it, again, the subconscious gets the idea. Look, he's spending a lot of time focused on his dreams. He's spending a lot of energy on that. He's writing them down. He's really trying to remember them. He's looking at the symbology. He's doing all these things. That's a lot of energy that's moving in that direction. It's going to reciprocate by saying, okay, dreaming starts to become higher on the priority list than other things, right? Than worries and whatever else is going on, right? So it's like it starts to move up because it's getting more and more energy. And so more and more attention will bring you to that point. And so, yeah, that's what we do. So all that being said, that was a little stray from the journaling, but, I mean, you always do that to me because I always tell people how much I don't like journaling. And, I meet people all the time. They're like, "Oh my God, I journal like 5 hours a day." And I'm like, "Oh my God, how can you do that?" It's like, that's like my hell, So, um, so anyway, yeah. So you want to keep a journal, the basic, for me, it's the basic things, you want to record the date and you don't have to it doesn't have to be the time, obviously, unless you're trying a lucid dream attempt, right? So, but the date and, that's basically it. Sometimes I'll record things like if there's particularly bad storms out or, for my own head, because, I engage in a lot of these other esoteric things, right? So it's like, we look at things like, you know, what constellation are we in at this time, or what's the moon phase, and things like that, just to sort of, sort of give it different parameters to see again if there are any patterns when I look back, right? Like, wow, I've seemed to have had, the easiest day for me to get out is Monday. Why? And so that it spurs on this, inquisition of is there something significant there, and can I utilize that in some way? So it's not just for the purpose of occupying my time as if I have so much extra time, but it's always to get to, to discover some other level that might be used for someone else, that, to get them in quicker, or to, facilitate some other aspect of work that they're doing, right? So anyway, you want to have a journal, and so you want to start recording the dreams, or even fragments of dreams, even impressions of dreams that you have as soon as you wake up. How do we do that? I mean, if you remember them, great. I mean, if you're one of these people that, remembers their dreams every night, and you just, maybe you remember several dreams in a night. It's not unusual to have people that can do that. So write the ones that are most important. If you want to write them all, make them short so it doesn't suck up your time. I find that, you have a diminishing rate of return on those things that take too much time, for fear that you're not going to be accurate enough in recording the dream. So you end up spending, I don't even know. I mean, I never do that. So it's sort of like, but I've heard of people who, like, they can't leave until they do an hour of journaling of their dreams before. I'm like, oh my God, that's got to be brutal, but they enjoy it. So that's fine. But record them, whatever if it's just an impression, it's like, oh, I just had the impression it was like, I was with my friends, or just something vague like that. If you do, write it down, because again, it's casting your mind into that place. Now, if you're not a person that remembers their dreams on a regular basis, or you just remember fragments or whatever, the way to stimulate more recovery of those dreams is to, when you wake up in the morning, don't move, or anytime at night, right? If you're going to wake up and you just sort of, you sense that there's a fragment of a dream there, or a piece of a dream, right? So you remember just the very last end of it. So like, like, let's say I dreamt about my youngest son and something about a watch last night. And so I wake up and I recall that part. And so I just lay there, don't move anything. So you're still sort of right in that intermediate range of hypnagogic state, right? Your body's still very relaxed. You haven't twitched yet, right? And excuse me. And then from there, you're going to just take that fragment that you have. And I always think of it, again, I use a lot of metaphors because it helps me with the process, right? If it's something that I can relate to, this is like this. And so I go through that. And stories are really easy for me to do with that. But, I always think of it like fishing. So it's like, for me, that fragment or piece of a dream that I remember right at the end, I'm just laying there. I realize that's what it is. And it's like, it's bait now, right? I cast it back, and I think, and how do I do that? I just think of the motion of that casting it sort of back into my subconscious. And I say, I have a little, thing in my head that just simple questions like, what else about that dream do I remember? It's like, what was I just dreaming? Something short like that, And so I cast that back, and I let it, sit, and it starts to retrieve more. So it's kind of like this, more like fly fishing, right? Where I'm sort of casting it back and pulling up more of it, and casting it back and pulling up more of it. So I'm sort of like, again, bit by bit, dredging my memory for the complete dream, right? At sometimes, or sometimes it just, all of a sudden, it'll just pull up the whole thing and you remember the whole thing. Well, that's the point where, you want to record it right away, whether you're using a voice recorder on your phone, or, which is what I tend to do, or, writing it down in your journal. That's fine. Get the key points down first in case it fades quickly. The fading won't happen the more that you do this. You'll be able to hold on to the whole thing, and the impressions, of course, that come along with that, right? But in the beginning, they might, you might not be able to write the whole thing down before, if parts of it start fading. So get the important points, because those points will actually stimulate your memory in a way that, it'll bring up more of the details if you need that later on. right? So I record that down. But if it's not, it's like I'll be like, oh, I just sort of remember. I wake up and I'm lying there. I'm like, I just have this impression of red, the color red, and then this was actually an actual one when I needed to do this, right? So it's like, oh, I just remember red, and then I cast it back and ask myself, what was I just dreaming? And so then all of a sudden, I just holding that impression of red, right? And then all of a sudden it turned into a red sun. And then I just, as I got that sort of image, and then I said, what was I just dreaming? I just keep repeating the same thing. What was I just dreaming? What was I just dreaming? And so then, it turns out I was dreaming about being on a beach. And again, all these very saturated colors. It wasn't a lucid dream, but it was a vivid dream, where, I could feel the sand on my feet. It was hot, and the sun was actually red. And it was like a Caribbean type of thing. So, but it was the way that I could retrieve the dream. Once I had it, and it was like, it like came into sharp focus, I remembered I was waking up. And so I just got up and I recorded the dream. But, had I not done that, I wouldn't have been able to pull that through, right? So if I would have just said, oh, I just had the impression of red. So it's worth some effort to do that and really, really start getting good at remembering your dreams. Again, it'll be easier and easier and easier as you go through the process, because you're going to be putting so much tension on dreaming that it's going to start offering you these, as you wake up, to the point where, you just remember them when you wake up, like you wake up remembering them, so it's like, oh, wow, that was a great one, so you record it, that's all. So, and so for some people watching this, they're going to be thinking, oh, I really wanted to do this, but I don't remember any of my dreams. I never remember my dreams. So, so I guess I can't do this, because what do I do? I've never remembered my dreams, or something like that. And I've had plenty of people that have had that, right? So here's a technique that you can use to stimulate that ability to remember your dreams. Okay, so when you get up in the morning, you don't have to lay there. I mean, when you get up and you don't remember your dreams, you don't remember fragments or impressions or any of that stuff. So you're just starting from zero. No problem, right? Get up, find some magazine in your house, or borrow some magazine from a friend that's going to throw them out anyway, right? I like magazines because they're mostly pictures, right? It's not because I can't read. It's because I like you use the pictures, right? So then this technique is about images, right? And looking at the pictures. So, just grab any magazine. It doesn't matter what it is. I tend to like the ones that are, about houses or things like that. So rooms, decorated rooms and things like that. So they just work well for me. So, so when I do this, you just open it up and find a picture that is engaging and just grabs you. Don't make it a long process. Literally, it will take me 10 times longer to explain this than it will to actually do it. Okay, so so I just want you to be clear on the timing. It should take you 2 minutes, way less than 5 minutes to do this whole exercise. Okay, so you just sort of sleepy. You get up, you open up the magazine, you look at the picture, and try to engage the picture with all of your senses, right? So you're looking at the picture, you're seeing the colors, the items that are in the picture, all of that, and not just your vision, but you're also engaging your sense. What is that? There's a 4-upholster bed. I wonder, what the wood feels like. It's probably smooth, and maybe that gauzy material that's draped over it, it feels like this. And you're really engaging as many senses as possible. Are there any smells there? I don't, maybe not, or maybe there's, some scent that you really enjoy in the bedroom or whatever. There's, maybe, wow, that looks really swanky. Maybe, that bed looks very comfortable. I can imagine myself lying on it, with a glass of wine or whatever. You're just using your imagination to sort of create a whole sensory array from this picture, right? That's all you're doing. Engage your imagination with this. Remember, you're still sort of in this sleepy state, right? So it's like there's a little bit of a transitional phase there. So you want to utilize that. So you're going to engage that. Do it as much as you can, until you feel like, wow, I've really, sort of placed myself in that picture, or, I've gotten a good impression of that. And then just put it away. Go do your regular stuff, get ready for work, take a shower, whatever you usually do. If the picture comes back to you, the images come back to you, or any of those senses come back to you, you can engage it or not. It doesn't matter. Just, do your regular routines. And the same thing for the course of the day, right? You go through the course of the day, and maybe you'll, remember you did that exercise, and you just kind of remember, oh, well, oh, that was a really nice looking 4-poster bed, or, gee, it looks like there was, green grass outside. It must have been summer there when it's brutal winter here. It's like all those little things, right, that just sort of come to you. But you're not forcing anything. You're just sort of remembering, right? You're just remembering. And so then when you get home, sometime between the time you get home and the time you go to bed, just take out a blank piece of paper and remember what you can. Any impressions, anything like that about the picture that you looked at this morning, right? So you're engaging it as if it was a dream, right? Because it's sort of, you're not putting yourself under so much stress that you've got to memorize every aspect of every little thing, because it takes the sensory array out of it, right? It's like you want to be sort of getting the full impression of it, because that's what dreams are like, right? We're in them. The reason that we're engaged when we're in them is because it's the whole sensory array, right? We're not just looking at it through a screen and saying, oh, gee, there's a dream. It's a movie of whatever. No, we're in it, right? So, and that means our senses are engaged in it. So this is the same kind of thing. We're just mimicking that and giving yourself, the idea like, okay, if that picture was a dream, this is just sort of, again, I'm always using my subconscious or trying to engage it, right? I'm asking it a question. If that picture was a dream, what do I remember about that? What are my impressions about that? And so you start off with the most basic things, and you just keep going until you can't remember anymore. And no reason to check it out or anything like that. It's not like a comparison. It's not a test, right? So you don't have to say, oh, it was a metal bed. It wasn't a 4-poster bed. I just wanted it to be a 4-poster bed. It's like you get a check mark for that. It's like, no, it's just, you're trying to engage the process. If that was a dream and parts of it have faded through the day, or they weren't as, some areas weren't as spectacular as others, but some things will come back to you and you'll remember it and you'll put it down. And you just continue that process, right? So then you go to bed and give yourself, the command or the question, right? It's like, it could be one or the other. Usually I like to engage my subconscious with questions, because it gets a little crazy if it can't give me an answer. So I like to torture it a little bit, keep it on its toes. So, ask it the question. It's like, what would it be like if I remembered my dreams in the morning? Or something similar to that. What is it like to remember your dreams in the morning? And then just go through the process. And if you get some scrap or whatever, if you get something full blown, fantastic, so write it down, you're on your way. I would continue to do the exercise, because it's just going to stimulate it and move it quicker, right? You got a little catching up to do. At least you feel like you do, right? So, but it's perfectly fine. You're going to get there, right? It's like, it just needs attention. That's all it needs. So, but if you didn't get anything that next morning, or maybe just a slight impression, I would go and, grab the magazine and do the same thing. Don't use the same picture. Use a different one. And it could be anything, right? I'm just giving you, whatever, my interpretation of this exercise from that picture, but it could be a landscape. It could be, I tend to find things with a lot of items in it, so there's different ways that I can interpret it. It could be a page of it could be an advertisement. It doesn't matter, as long as there's a decent amount. It doesn't want to be just script, right? You want it to be images and things that sort of grab you. So I just flip through the pages until I come to one and go like, oh, if I stop, well, something grabbed my attention, so I'm engaging it that way. And just keep that process up. You're going to see that it produces, more and more remembrance of those dreams.
Cool. Yeah, that's a cool exercise, especially the aspect that you emphasized where you're immersing your senses engaging your senses with that. And it makes me think about even the way that I remember my dreams. It's mostly I'm thinking about, like you said, the visual aspect or whatever, but there's more to it than that. And I feel like engaging your senses with that memory exercise will really help to engage your senses in your memory of your dreams as well, right? And bring back more of like the feelings, the sensations, the smells, and help to bring that richness of the environment out as well, right?
Right, because I mean, it's at some point, or in some ways, we're trying to make the dream or our engagement in the dream as real, if not more real, than our engagement in everyday reality, right? So our
Right.
physical reality. So, you know, and this is fraught with sensory overload sometimes, right? So it's like we're even pushing stuff away because it's too much, right? That's too loud, that's too coarse, this is too, whatever, right? So it's like we want to start engaging the dream is just the flip side of the same coin, right? So everything that I can think of from this side, I try to engage the dream on that side. It's not what would make me put my attention there. Oh, if it got a little bit more, cohesive, it wasn't such a scrambled dream. It wasn't so ridiculous. Okay, well, let me remember my dreams and try to see, is my subconscious trying to answer a question that I've posed that I didn't even know I posed? What are the symbols here? What's going on? What are the colors? And depending on, your correspondences for yourself, or ones that you've picked up from other people, that's fine. It's a place to start. You start engaging it on a level that is important, and it realizes that you're putting attention on it. Look, we don't put attention on things that aren't important. We just don't. We dismiss them. And so, but once we do, we see it everywhere, right? It's like you go to my favorite example is you go to the shop for a new car, and you find one on the lot that's like this crazy color you've never seen before. I mean, it doesn't have to be crazy bright, but it's crazy, like it just grabs your attention, right? Like you've never seen that car in that color, and you're just so engaged in it, right? It's like, I gotta have that one. I don't care what else. It's like that color is just doing it for me, And so you grab it, you buy the car, you drive off the lot, and on your way home on the highway, you pass like 10 of those cars, right? They just stand out to you, and you're like, damn it. It's like there's that significance playing a factor, right? I need it to be special. I thought my car was going to be special. It's like, oh, it's just one of, many. But you never noticed them until that moment, right?
Yeah.
It's like putting your attention on it and sort of engaging it in that very all-encompassing way made that then stand out to you. What I put my attention on the most and give it energy, I'm going to start producing that in my environment. I'm going to be aware of it in my environment.
It makes a lot of sense too, what you said about making your dreams more like a place that you would actually want to be conscious in, because it's like if your dreams are like a big jumbled mess and super chaotic or scary or whatever, it's like, why would you want to be more aware in that type of environment?
Right. Why would I want to go there?
So yeah, it gives me a little more motivation to do the work of like actually trying to figure out like what some of these symbols mean to me, and doing the work of recording more dreams, because recording them more is going to make them more coherent and not seem as chaotic. And so kind of all those things, like, it makes sense. It's like it's slowly making that a place that you actually want to go to, instead of that would be one of those other fears, right? It's like, why do I want to hurl myself into this ultra real 3-dimensional multi-sensorial space of chaos? It's like, I got enough of that, I'm good. It's like, no more, please. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I don't need to take the Doctor Strange ride.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put that clip for that. That's an awesome clip from Doctor Strange, that movie. Also, we'll put it in the community section so you guys can have it for a little inspiration, because it is insane.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so if you don't remember your dreams, don't worry. This will definitely help, and it will get you into a place where you can. And as you start to transition and more fragments come to you, more dreams come to you, you're just going to keep your attention on it, journal it, and then it's just going to be the same. In fact, it won't be the same as everybody else. Again, a lot of people just dismiss their dreams. And so they remember them when they wake. Within 5 minutes of walking to the bathroom, they're going to be forgetting them, right? So
Yeah.
you're going to engage them in a level that makes them more and more important. And so that's going to give them more life, right? The more attention, more life, right? So, and that's a big deal. And that's a way to overcome that part of it. And then you can move forward with everything else.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Thank you so much. And
No problem.
we'll get on to the next part of this.
Next part.
It's awesome. And
All
hopefully I'll extend my memory so much into my subconscious that I can actually remember that event. And I will tell you all about it when I do.
Right. You're going to be going, oh, and I'm going to be like,
yeah, we got bigger fish to fry. Thanks for catching up, pal.
Yeah, just never mind. There's more to come. Don't worry.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, thanks, you guys, and yeah, we'll get on to the next segment.
Sounds great.